Welcome to Fundamentals of Software Engineering, a brief chat about programming assistants. It's a pretty exciting time to be alive as a programmer right now, or a software developer or software engineer, because of the growth of large language model tools that are available for us. In this particular talk, I will be talking about two technologies. What is Stack Overflow and how it's useful? It used to be that the professors were really scared about Stack Overflow. That's no longer the case because now we have ChatGPT and what Copilot is. So the whole point of this is for you to understand what these three technologies do and how they differ. So the reality of being a developer in this day and age is that the number of technologies and frameworks that you are navigating are extremely complex. Every programmer is concerned about the interactions with all of these systems, and we cannot possibly remember all of the things that you need. It is actually impossible to memorize everything you need to become a software developer. That's just reality. That's the way it is. So, what we need to know is where to look for information. And having a methodological approach to finding information to solve your problem is going to make you a successful programmer. So where do you get this information? Well, you go ask the person who wrote the code. That's ideally, but they probably left the company. They may not have documented the code. They may have documented the code, but they didn't actually change it when they fixed the bug. And they might have been using the technology incorrectly, a whole bunch of things, but they were definitely rushed to finish the task. That's basically the reality of the world that we live in as developers in industry. So where do we get the other information? I found three memes with regards to Stack Overflow. So it used to be that Stack Overflow was the place to go to get information about pretty much anything programming. So a lot of people relied heavily on Overflow, and then they would add a little bit of their own code. Here's another meme. Stack Overflow is this whale tail that's holding you up, and that code is that your code is that broken train above you. And then there's also this one here. If a programmer falls asleep now and wakes up in 2050, what is the first thing they will Google? They will Google where Stack Overflow is, or whatever the replacement of Stack Overflow is. So what is this Stack Overflow? Let's ask Stack Overflow, how do you set up a TypeScript project to use React? And you'll get some questions, some answers. It basically does keyword matching. So it's doing TypeScript and React. So you have create React app while using a TypeScript, use a Mocha and create React app and TypeScript. So these are all slightly different ways that you can start doing the interaction. We can ask another question of Stack Overflow, which is a fairly simple question. How do you define how do you define a class for a student in TypeScript that has a name, a surname, an ID, and a preferred name? Well, Stack Overflow didn't help us there because it found some keywords, and the combination of keywords didn't appear in any one of these things. So, go try some Stack Overflow stuff, ask us some questions from your 5001 class, your 5004 class, whatever it is you want to do. Go ask some questions and see how it does. It is a knowledge repository for people who have asked questions and those questions have been answered. And when you ask a question, it tries to match it to questions that have been asked so you can look at the answers. Unfortunately, there's a whole community of people that are contributing. In fact, there's a lot of crap on Stack Overflow, so you actually have to be wise and savvy to do that. And this was the default knowledge repository for software developers until November 30, 2022. In November 2022, sorry for the typo there, ChatGPT came out, and this was the culmination of many years of work in the AI community. And being a large language model, it allows us to do queries that are more English-like, and it uses a large body of knowledge to match against it. That's basically how large language models work. So let's just try the following. We have all tried to look up a recipe. So here's a link to a recipe that I've linked, and it's like, how can I make a one-pot creamy lemon chicken pasta with basil and peas? So let's go have a look at that page. Here's the page. I just want the recipe, right? So basically, look at what's happening here is that we have an introduction to the author, and then we have an ad. And then we scroll down. There's a picture of the delicious food that you want to make, and then there's another ad, and there's some more stuff like that, and then there's another ad, and there's more. Oh, another delicious picture. There's an ad on the right. There's an ad down here. At this point, the author has made money from all of these Air Canada ads that we're seeing, and Air Canada is paying money. There's a table of contents. There's another ad. And now we're going to talk about how beautiful and tender this all is and why you're going to. So the author has extended this recipe very lengthy wise. Now they're going to explain what one pot pasta is, another ad, another ad. Look, there's WestJet. WestJet's competing down here for Air Canada for my eyeballs, probably because I booked a ticket. I did searches on Air Canada 2 weeks ago, so that's in my history. And oh, here's a photograph of all the things I have to put in this recipe, and another ad. And then, oh, now we're going to describe all of these things, and then we're going to say what we can substitute out. And then there's the variations and more ads. Oh, TD comes in here. There's WestJet, and actually, see, I actually flew to Alberta, so it knows about that. Here's a movie that's coming out that's probably going to be bad because most video game movies are bad. And then you say, okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit. Oh, there's another ad for TD, and here's some expert tips, blah, blah, blah. And then here's some photos. At this point, we've seen about 20 or 30 ads. So the author of this page has made some money, and we're still not at the recipe. And here's the recipe testimonials to tell you how good this great thing is. And more ads. Now we're into Dell Technologies. What is this? I don't know what that is. Oh, here's the recipe at this point. There we go. Look, there's the recipe. Da 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 da. And then there's another ad next to the instructions. So you have at this point you have, oh, someone removed the ad. Thank goodness for that. And here's more ads and blah blah blah. So here we go. You got a whole bunch of Dell Technologies. So you get the picture. Finding a recipe and finding the ingredients is rather painful. Now let's go and have a look at how I can do this with ChatGPT. Let's go to ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT how to get me the recipe, and so here's my response from ChatGPT. These are the ingredients, and this is the and this is how to cook it, and stuff like that. So because ChatGPT is using all of these pages, etc., it was able to go through and find the data on this particular web page and pull out all of the instructions here. And looking over them, it looks like a perfectly reasonable way to cook this. The recipe I got has for beans and peas, but I'm smart enough to know I can substitute the beans for the peas, so it's all good. So, why ChatGPT? Because it is it's allowing us to do some searches that are more than just like the Google search. It's deep knowledge of it's a deep database of English from the web allows it to come up and do something like this. So when you ask ChatGPT, how do you set up a TypeScript project to use React? Let's go have a look at that. And let's go have a look at that here and see how that works. Let's go here. How do I set up a So there we go. I just asked, how do I set up a TypeScript project to use React on a Mac from the command line? And then it goes through and it sets up, gives you specific instructions. This is all gathered from different repositories and knowledge bases. So I get a much better example of how to do this. I have to make sure I have Node installed, create a new directory, and then go in here. And then create React, So there we go. That's how I do all of that stuff. It gives me a step-by-step ability to set all of this stuff up. And you can see that's going along there. So quite useful. It gives me all the instructions. this has become a very useful tool for me as I navigate through these complicated technologies. And then we can ask it, how do you define a class for a student in TypeScript that has a name, surname, and a preferred name? Let's go back to that. Oops. There we go. Now notice that there's some context here. ChatGPT, I just asked it a question about TypeScript, and so it actually did this. So if we go over this, name, surname, ID, preferred name, string, it has a constructor. It didn't give me a default constructor, but that's okay. I don't need a default constructor. And it gave me two accessors, a get full name and a get info, and it didn't give me any setters. So it's made the assumption that this is kind of a static object. It's just a data object that we're not going to change things. So the name and the surname of people, of course people get married, so we may need to add that. And then here's an example of how to use it. And then here's how to do it, how to compile it. And there you go, it's your TypeScript, and there's So we get a fairly complete answer to our question that we did not get an answer for on Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow versus ChatGPT, and by ChatGPT I mean all of the large language models, including Copilot that you install in your browser. Stack Overflow is a very narrow focused database that allows you to have very specific questions with specific answers, and the community vets those answers. ChatGPT pretends to understand vague requests. It gives you some sort of explanation. You can refine it. It also has context, as we saw when we had asked the question about TypeScript, and the next question gave us TypeScript code rather than Python or Java or Fortran. But be careful. Stack Overflow Stack Overflow has banned people from using ChatGPT to generate answers. They can't validate them. The Copilot is an embedded ChatGPT in your IDE. It's available at this point for pretty much any useful IDE. I've installed it in Xcode, all of my JetBrains products, and my Visual Studio Code. It is free for you as a student. I will use it. You will see me using it when I'm doing live coding in class. I believe you've all installed it. If you haven't installed it, please install it because it will be helpful for you during this semester. Thank you very much for, oh, there we go. In short, use whatever tools you have at your disposal, but use them wisely. At the end of the day, you need to understand the code of your project. You need to understand how it works. So even if you're using things like Copilot to generate a lot of code for you, take the time to read the code and understand it. And if you don't understand it, you can actually even ask Copilot to explain it to you, and it's pretty good at explaining code. So that's it. Modern tools, modern time, exciting times. Thank you for watching.